Longing for my family, coming back to you. Out of bondage and now I am free. Da 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 da. Come back home to Africa. She's calling your name through the wind. Come back home to Africa. The fatted calf and golden ring are waiting for you once again. Coming back to you. I'm longing for my family. Coming back to you. Out of bondage and now I am free. Da 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 da. Greetings, greetings, welcome, come on in, welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, y'all. Greetings, greetings. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your concerns. I invite your criticisms. I invite your participation in another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes, here on both Blog Talk Radio and YouTube Live. Come on in, greetings, greetings, come back home. Come back home to Africa. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Greetings, greetings. Happy birthday, Red Man. Happy birthday, Red Man. Wu-Tang Clan Red Man. Happy birthday, Red Man from the Wu-Tang Clan. Happy birthday, beloved. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes on two platforms, youtube.com/Voodoo Thai and also on blogtalkradio.com/the-divine-prince. You can also call me now on my live listening and call-in number. And every day, 15 minutes before the start of the show, the phone lines are open at area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. When you're ready with your question, comment, or request, please do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. I'll be happy to open your mic and bring you into this squared circle of gods and goddesses and entertain your question, comment, or request. Alafia, Peleo, Jumbo, Habargani, Kedu, Uhuru, Waku, Bawoni. Welcome, greetings, and salutations to each and every one of you. Divine, all blessed peace and love, joy and prosperity, elevation, revelations, and manifestation. You are now sitting live with the Divine Prince, and always in archive at your leisure and convenience here on blogtalkradio.com/the-divine-prince, and also at youtube.com/Voodoo Thai. V like Victor, O-O, D like David, O-O-T-Y-E. You are now listening live and always in archive to the Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, and advisor, Elagun Oloye Hoodoo Obeah Bokur, sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, evolutionary, revolutionary, healing, and holistic from a Pan-African hoodoo, world spiritualist perspective. Understanding that all is truly and indeed a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. This is my constant and my personal prayer, my mantra, my affirmation, my reverberation, and it is my ever-living reality. It is crucial to the very foundation of my understanding, my teaching, my walk, my works, my ultimate demonstration along this divine, all-blessed life path and journey. It is how I, the Divine Prince, make sense out of all that we are challenged with here in this daily existence on Mother, Father, Earth. And it is my personal place of power and understanding, the place from where I begin, the place from where I realize and crystallize all my endeavors, understanding that I and I alone create and co-create my divine destiny, and I alone create and co-create my divine, all-blessed reality. And so it is. Ashe, Asheo, Ashe. If there is a God, if there is a God, I too am God. If there is a divine creator God, you too are indeed a divine creator God. And this is what I stand up in. This is what I walk in each and every day. This is why I say with confidence that I create and recreate my reality. Not you, not the weather, not what I have or don't have at any given moment. I'm divine when I wake up in the morning. I am Divine Prince when I lay down at night. I am Divine Prince when you can't see me, when you can't hear me, when you don't know me, when you can't monitor my actions. I live and walk and stand in my truth. And I invite you today, this Friday, April 17th, 2020, to do the same. I am emanating and vibrating with you and for you now, live, verbally, virtually, cosmically, quantum universally from this working temple of the House of the Divine Prince, Thai Potions, and Hoodoo Central, LLC. All is truly and indeed a blessing in this beautiful, historic, legendary, and most enchanted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana, the land of my ancestors, and those who came before me along this hoodoo spiritualist Obeah life path and journey, passing down the great Obeah stick along with the knowledge of the life-giving, healing herbs, roots, plants, rituals, spirits, and minerals. I invite you to join me here live at high noon U.S. Central Standard Time for a daily, weekdaily edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes, where we indeed share the legacy, the culture, the history, the traditions, and our stories. These are our stories. This is my story. This is not something lifted from a book. This is not something borrowed from some other talking head. This is my story, and indeed the story of my people, and the people of historic Treme, the people of Fogborg Treme, the people of New Orleans, Louisiana, the people of Louisiana, the people of Mississippi, Mississippi Delta, Hoodoo, Voodoo, stand up in the room, Ashe. Remember that no matter what we say, what we do, spiritual knowledge, spiritual power lies in its efficacy, its ability to produce lasting, reliable, tangible, reproducible results right here, right now, in this present moment in time space. This is more than religion. This is more than my philosophy. This is more than my belief or my faith. This is indeed the power, the ashe, the energy that I stand up in, that I walk in, that I demonstrate in each and every day. And I invite you to be a part of this experience. Understanding that now, as we move into this hour of revolutionary hoodoo, New Orleans voodoo secrets and recipes, the creation of sacred space is crucial to everything we say or do. It is the root of our power. It is the root of our destiny. It is the root of our foundation, the creation of sacred space. And sacred space must be not only just what you set up outside, not just your candles and your oil and your white table and your shrines and your altars, but that sacred space that you indeed create within. And when we create that inner sacred space, there's no room for the nonsense. There's no room for the negative self-talk. There's no room for the bitterness and the shallowness and the carnality that is only attached to the flesh, to the material world, to the carnal world. Indeed, we create sacred space so that we can operate in the realm of spirit, in the realm of truth. So therefore, we create sacred space in all things. Spiritual knowledge and power lies in its efficacy and its ability to produce lasting, reliable, tangible manifestation right here and right now in this moment. All else is ego. All else is vanity. All else is fantasy. All else is creative imagination. I welcome each and every one of you individually, collectively, in this sacred space. Let me pull up my chat so I can see you. Welcome, Justice, Slum Life, Peace and Blessings. Lydia Martin, welcome to the show. Keona D. Carter, please do all due respect to our moderator, our organizer, our leader in the chat room. I welcome each and every one of you. Keisha Smith, Beatrice James. Is it anyone that I'm not seeing? Candace Williams, welcome so much. Imani Sankofa, Anthony, April Anthony. I don't know why I always want to say your last name first. April Anthony, welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. I welcome my continuous participants, my repeat listeners, but I also welcome my brand new listeners to open up, participate in the show. Type your questions, comments, or requests in all capital letters in the chat room so that Keona and I can see your questions and identify them clearly. If you're having a problem with typing capital letters, if you've been blocked out for some reason by the YouTube algorithm for typing in all capitals, please be sure to use appropriate punctuation, quotation marks, question marks, so that we can identify your question or comment from the other lovely conversation that we have ongoing in the chat while the program is airing. I also invite you to utilize the chat, which is also open in Blog Talk Radio. I am moderating on my own in the Blog Talk Radio platform. And I welcome your questions, comments, your phone calls at area code 845-277-9143, as area code 301 has done, just as area code 323 has already done. I'm going to say everybody's area code 3 times. So I've already said 2 area codes once, and then I'll say your area code a second time, and then the third time. And on that third time, your mic will be actively open. And I do that to give both of us a time to, or background noise going on. Hoodoo occultism, bro, I don't know what's up with you. I just called your area code. I was getting on my way to you, and then you disconnect on me. Keona, I see you, beloved. Your mic is open, 323. 323, your mic is open. Welcome and greetings always. Hey girlfriend.
Greetings.
Welcome. Peace and blessings, beloved.
I'm in an amazing mood again.
Yes, and we're happy for you and grateful for your active participation in the show. Did you have a question or a comment for me?
No, I'm just joining in. I'm just in good spirits. Yesterday, once the show ended, Someone had contacted me last month, inquiring about my services, and I had got discouraged because I felt like they had wasted my time. And right when the show ended, I don't think 15 minutes had passed, they text me and
Mm-hmm.
said they were ready to move forward and send a deposit to my PayPal.
Well, indeed, that's a blessing. Anyone who's working right now, it's a blessing. Anyone who's gaining income right now, it's a blessing. You know, Hollywood South is really the bulk of my income comes from Hollywood South. And Hollywood South ain't moving right now. We can't film anything. I am seeing some projects that are, being recreated behind the scenes. I'm hesitating, obviously, because I want to be diplomatic and I don't want to give away these people's projects, but they're doing it remotely. So they're asking particular questions. They're asking you to, you know, settle into a particular feeling, mood, subject matter, and then produce that, remotely by video or by Skype, or what have you. So I am seeing some movement in Hollywood South in an attempt to keep people not only working, but I think to more importantly keep people motivated, keep people's spirits up, give people a new way of looking at creation and recreation and indeed art, and how we can now bring that forward in the present conditions. Um, this is what the challenge for all of us. This is the challenge for everyone under the sound of my voice. Not just myself, not just Hollywood South, not just Kiona, but everyone. Whether you're still working and still employed, or if you are still employable and have skills that can be utilized and offered right now during this time period, remember that this is a time to recreate and to begin anew and to see yourself and what you do and how you operate in a very new way. Beyond just the hygiene, of course. What's most obvious? How do we be clean? How do we sort of separate ourselves from direct and personal contact? And I know you all are getting mixed messages. I know you all are hearing, let's figure out a way to open this thing back up. But I already told you that's not happening. That's not happening. And any of you who believe that, who accept that, um, what I'm about to say is hard. Make sure people have your name and your address and your social security number, and make sure people know where your insurance paperwork is, because you're putting yourself at risk. We're still going to see several thousand people die from this. If we don't get on one accord, if we don't get unison, and if that one accord, unison is not possible, then you as an individual need to be clear, need to be educated, need to be updated, need to be aware, need to be on CDC every day like I am, need to be in the news every day like I am, need to be paying attention to the rebound in China, in Italy, in other countries, and make sure your family, your children, your friends, your peers got it. I spent many hours yesterday calling everybody I knew over 40 and making sure that they had a clue. And even some people under 40, nieces, nephews, cousins, I made sure they had a clue too. Don't be foolish. Don't be no idiot. Don't get caught up in the entertainment of talk radio, of news radio. You better wash your ass, and you better watch your ass, and watch your back. Remember, baby boy, you better watch your back. Because some of you already don't trust. Some of you already find it all to be propaganda. Okay, so it's absolutely the obvious of what they're telling you. It's absolutely worse than what's being said. It's absolutely more to it than what's being pushed at you every day. And even for those with the best of intentions, whether they be media, politicians, your local government, whatever, they still are not desiring to create a panic, you know. So they're still tempering what's being said. So that's why in the ritual cycle of things, we got to acknowledge the ancestors. We got to acknowledge the ancestors in all things. Be grateful for life in all things. Be grateful for the opportunity that you woke up and you're breathing. and you have life, health, and strength, and you had the opportunity now to create a new reality. Create a new reality. It's our choice to get up and repeat the same reality every day. It's your choice to do that. We get comfortable. We get set in our ways. We fear the unknown. We fear the unseen. We fear what we can't necessarily map out immediately. But we indeed have the opportunity to create and recreate a new reality each and every time you wake up. Each and every time you wake up and you're still breathing and you can open your eye and your eyes, you have an opportunity to create and recreate a reality. We also acknowledge the power of the white cloth, the power that governs the head, the power that fashioned the body, and made us human and gave us humanity. Understanding that if we're inebriated, if we're drunk, whether that be on power, whether that be on knowledge, whether that be on wisdom, whether that be on emotion, then we create and recreate infirmities, disabilities, things that ain't quite right. The white cloth reminds us of that, to walk a line of purity, of sanctity, of wellness, of wholeness, of consciousness. The white cloth reminds us of that. The white cloth also scientifically reflects all colors in the spectrum. So when we think of our clearest of quartz crystal and its ability to reflect color, rainbow spectrum, and some crystals actively show rainbows within them. And those rainbows then add a whole nother element of manifestation to your quartz and to your work that you operate in quartz. So on this day, I also acknowledge, in acknowledging the white cloth, my white minerals and our white stones, and those substances like salt, and what role they play in conjure, in magic, in hoodoo, in root work, in spirituality and tradition. Even that great magical book talks a lot about salt. Get you a good encyclopedia, a good encyclopedia. There are some encyclopedias specific to and specific for your magical books, and it goes into detail about every word that's being used and why and what the symbolism is behind that. So often you hear me speaking from a spiritual and a symbolic code. And some of you want to know, well, where is he pulling that from? Where is he drawing that from? There is divine numerology. There is a system that's set up in the universe, and it pervades all cultures, all traditions, all practices. Now, there are many avenues to access it. Many people gain access to this knowledge by various paths. I had a prophet in the city of Chicago, 1999, introduce a great deal of this information to me. Bahala was his name. I'm not even sure if Bahala is still with us, if Bahala is still incarnate. Bahala truly introduced me to the science of quartz and crystals and minerals, and to many of the proverbs and limericks and magical phraseology that's used in the great magical books and what they meant. What is behind where two or more are gathered in my name? I shall be in the midst of them. That's that triangle that I often reference, that has many dimensions, that has many meanings, that has many symbolic references attached to it. But it also represents two of us or more coming together in our higher octaves and operating in our higher knowledge, operating in our higher power to produce bigger things, great things, change, transformation at every level. And so when I talk about sacred space and the formation of sacred space and those divine minds coming together in this sacred space, we are indeed creating power. We are creating magic. This is indeed a magical ceremony that we stand in right now, that we sit in right now. Those of you who consciously choose to occupy this space right now are experiencing what Keone is experiencing, being excited every day, seeing magic manifest in the life every day, seeing the ancestors and the Orisha and the Loa do great things every day, but you got to be standing in it. And it's a conscious thing. It's more than ceremony now. It's more than a paddle on the ass and jumping a broom and having the white cloth placed over your head. You got to consciously bring your spirit body into this. And so, yes, there is a level of understanding there that's required. And so I beg you, I implore of you, your first greatest magical book is your journal. Is your journal. God don't need no middleman. The goddess don't need someone to stand up as an intermediary and speak for them. They will indeed speak right to you, right through you, right in you, all around you. All you've got to do is ask for it. And one of the scariest prayers I've ever prayed was that, God, show yourself to me. If it's a God, if it's a goddess, if it's a great power, you've got to show yourself to me. It's got to manifest in a way that this Labor Day, earth-bound Virgo can understand, you know, who had been through all this religiosity and denominationalism. God had to make it clear to me in a way that was separate from humanity's demonstration. And the voice kept coming back. The demonstration kept coming back. Go within. Look at yourself. Who are you? Where did you come from? You know, and particularly African Americans, because I know everybody listens to this show. Every ethnicity, every race, many cultures listen to this show. But particularly the descendants of chattel slavery, the descendants of the Middle Passage. We've got a gaping hole in terms of piecing our lineage together, piecing our backgrounds together, piecing our identities together. And some have accepted that lack of information and live as if we were born here, you know, figuratively, that we have no background beyond here. And so they continue to embrace the religion, the culture, the practice of the same oppressors that would oppress us today in every way possible. And I know Hoodoo occultism and a few other of my participants love when they hear this topic. I see you, Hoodoo occultism. Where's the question?
No, he wanted to ask a question on the phone line before he started back working.
Is this about the dead cat? Listen, y'all. I'm hesitating now because I want to be diplomatic. I want to find my words. I want to be as kind and as gentle to Hoodoo occultism, but also everybody else who, you know, you see a frog, you see a cat, you see a snake, you see a bird, but you have not been studying the many components that go into that. And that's why I keep coming back to, even before I saw your question, I said the greatest magical book you possess is your journal. Is your journal. These events are not singular, are not isolated from the rest of your experience. So for me to answer that, to clarify that, to read that, I'm also got to look at what did you do before that? What did you do after that? What did you eat the day before? It's just too many questions that I would have to ask that you could ask yourself and just look at your journal. And if you're not journaling, you're losing, beloved, you're losing this detail. You're losing the meaning. You're losing the context in which this symbolism is being pushed at you. Now, there's general symbolism for most everything. And that's when things get dicey for me, because people say, well, is there a dream book? Is there a symbolism book? Does the dead cat mean the same thing for everybody? Does dreaming about fish mean the same thing for everybody? Does seeing a snake mean the same thing for everybody? I hold up a black obia every day. Every day. And so clearly, black snake means something very specific to me that no one has ever asked about. By the way, you all step over a black snake every day and don't ask about it. But now you see it on your path, and yes, I am speaking more directly now to the answer, Hoodoo. Now you see it along your path, and you want clarity. So along your path, those are the key words. So if you're not journaling, if you're not maintaining a journal, you're losing the details of your story. You're losing the details of why things are happening when they do. When they do. There's always a literal definition and a figurative. If we want to talk about books, things being in the book, let's compare it to your dictionary, your thesaurus, your encyclopedia. And yes, things are going to be generic. What's the positive meaning of it? What's the negative meaning of it? But then there's what's the meaning of it when it happens to me, on my journey, in my path, in context with what's going on with me. I would be concerned about seeing or walking over anything dead right now in the context of the virus. So is it a literal sign? Is the cat dead from the virus? We know the tiger had the virus. We know a dog was reported in the news of having the virus. So it's nature, because now we're talking about nature magic. I tried to teach one of my cousins nature magic just before our communication broke down, some 25 years ago. Birds travel in a particular number in nature magic. Animals cross your path in a particular pattern or number in nature magic. So it's death talking to you. Are you getting a warning about your travels, your activities? I'm getting personal now, Hoodoo occultism. Do you trust what you're being told? Do you trust what you're hearing? I'm listening to Dr. Fauci. I'm reading the CDC. They are still not clear as to how this virus is traveling. Even with all the notion of, cover your face, cover your respiratory tract, wash your hands, do we wear gloves? Do we not wear gloves? I'm reading the fine print. I'm paying attention to what's being said every day. And the reality is, they're still not exactly clear how this is traveling, how long it's staying in the air. I'm hearing 3 days. I'm hearing 8 days. I'm hearing differences of days depending on what surfaces it lies on. Thank you, Yoel Adamus. Is it being carried by bugs? Is it being carried by mosquitoes? Are flies carrying it? Those of us, especially in the South, in the springtime, we got all of that. We got vermin and insects, and we got all of that. And so I stay in my house. I go out and walk the block to the inn and back, in particular times of the day, in the heat of the day when there are no mosquitoes. I don't do it at night. I don't do it at dusk and at dawn. My shutters are shuttered at dusk and at dawn, But during the heat of the day, I'll stick my head out, perhaps. I pay attention to the wind. Is the wind carrying it away? If it's dead still and ain't no air moving, I probably ain't standing in my door. Call me crazy, call me paranoid, call me the hoodoo man. Call me the conjure man. Call me the voodoo man. I'm going to listen to spirit. Call me the witch doctor. I'm going to listen to spirit. I'm the medicine man. I'm going to listen to spirit. You're not getting all the information. Even the most educated of us about what's happening, we know we're not getting all the information. The wise man knows when I think I know everything, when I think I know enough, I step into the realization that I know nothing. And so we keep looking, we keep examining, we keep researching. Did you see my latest Instagram photo? I'm serious. N95, I cut the sleeves off of a t-shirt because that fits over my head perfectly. So I put one t-shirt over the sleeve, the short sleeve from a t-shirt, cut it off a t-shirt, put that over top of your N95. Okay? Then I take the other sleeve and put that over the other sleeve. And now I got my visor that I can wear, that's attached to the hat. I've also got another visor that you haven't seen yet in my coronavirus fashions, COVID-19 couture. I have another visor you haven't seen yet that I can also wear over top of the N95 and the 2 layers of cotton over that. And cotton, not nylon, not rayon, not synthetic materials, cotton. And so for all of you African clothes wearing, Muslim clothes wearing, ethnic clothes wearing, Hindu clothes wearing folk who most of everything we got is cotton anyway, we already covered, baby. We already covered. All we got to do is cut up some cotton fabric, and put it on, attach it. So yeah, nobody really knows. Nobody really knows. Urban Gorilla asks, and forgive me if I'm skipping over questions. My screen keeps scrolling up, so I'm seeing what's lowest to the bottom on my screen. Urban Gorilla, what is the hand of Ifa, and can I explain the use and meaning of Ikin? Some people say I can, but it's Ikin. The Ikin are the palm nuts, and the 16 palm nuts. And you can't just use any palm nuts. They have to have a particular natural configuration. Often that's referred to as eyes and the ability for them to see. If you're new, Urban Gorilla, but I think you've been here before. You might not be new. But for people who are, certain things I don't go into a great detail about because perpetrators will latch on to that and then present it to you, perpetrate it to you as if they know what we're talking about, as if they've gone through this process. So Urban Gorilla, beloved, there are particular Ikin, particular type and configuration of palm nut that are utilized depending on what's happening. Your hand of Ifa is primarily symbolic. It is your receiving of your Ikin. Often an ID will be attached, which is a beaded arula or rumula bracelet. Sometimes it's metal, sometimes it's beaded. That does not make you a Babalao, a Iyanifa. It doesn't make you a reader of Ifa. It doesn't give you the permission or the authority or the instructions to use the Ikin to read with or to divine with. In fact, if someone knows we good. Oh, you good? Okay. So Hoodoo occultism, you're now unmuted, so you can come in when you get ready. But let me explain this question about the hand of Ifa. So anyone who's had the ancestral work in divination knows what Odu is, knows what Odu is. Anyone who's had a complete reading or divination knows what Odu is. But if you are initiating or you're doing ancestral work in divination, those Odus from that point on travel with you. I'm going to mute you just for a moment until I finish saying this, Hoodoo, and then I'm going to come back to you. Those Odus travel with you. So when you receive the hand of Ifa, um, that Odu sort of marks your path now moving forward, marks your path now in the tradition. So every time you go back to the Babylao to read, they take your Ikin, they wash them, sometimes they have to be fed, and then they pound them and they perform your next do or your next Odu. When I'm working with godchildren remotely, of course we have to make some adjustments because it's remotely. I then ask the question, what's your Odu? What was the last mark? It not only lets me know that they're paying attention, that they're taking notes, that they're keeping up, with the process, but it also, each Odu is built upon. So recently, Urban Gorilla, I don't know if you were listening, I said, what can you do with one hand? You might be able to operate to some degree with your other hand, but you're not, whole without the rest of your body. So that hand is an introduction. Just like you take the hand of fellowship in the church. My church people know what I'm talking about. They open the doors of the church ceremonially. It's something that's said. We open the doors of the church, and then you go up to the front, and they receive your hand. And then everybody in the church shakes your hand following that. So it's an introduction into the tradition. It's an introduction. It should be an introduction to the tradition. And the hand of Ifa should not come first. Your hand should not come first. Your ancestors should come first. Your head should come first before you receive a hand of Ifa. Okay, now, Houston, Hoodoo occultism. Okay, you hung up on me again, beloved. But when you have all that extra background noise, I can't talk and have you open at the same time. Now that I'm ready to take your question, you're not on the lines with me, beloved. And so if you can, type your question into the chat, and then I'll respond to it. Yeah, there is a Yoel Adamas is saying, have I ever noticed a connection between the Ikin or the Aikin and the I Ching in China? Absolutely. It's based on a very similar binary code. And for those of you who are, there's a chart, there's a board that accompanies authentic feng shui that also has these I Ching houses broken down on it. It also has the planetary systems broken down on it. It also has the moon cycles broken down on it. It also has the sun cycles broken down on it. Another example would be the Mayan calendar and the Mayan system, which is this spiral of information that then translates into all this other natural and organic systems and cycles that humanity intersects or interacts with. So absolutely, there's a connection, there's a correlation between the Ikin and the I Ching, for sure. Natural intuition, justice, is great if we were perfect. And humanity ain't perfect. Your body's never perfect at one time. Your mind is never perfect at one time. We move in and out of states of perfection, states of consciousness, sleep, tired, waking in the morning, and not being fully in our body. We're affected by the weather. We're affected by the energies of people around us. So intuition would be great if it were perfect. And humanity is not perfect. The mindset is not perfect. And so it causes us to seek centering, grounding, sometimes fasting, sometimes meditation, sometimes being still. And in the urban climate, if I can borrow from your name, Gorilla, in the Western world, we often don't have time. We often don't have the environment that allows for, that produces balance, of the type of balance that you're talking about. If you're not conscious of it, if you don't demand it, if you don't demand your downtime, if you don't demand your spiritual time, it won't be afforded to you. If your employer is given that opportunity, you're going to be at work 40 hours a week. Some of you are doing 60 hours a week, depending on the essentiality of your job and your position right now. So if you don't then demand off time, sick time, me time, maternity leave, maternity leave is a new concept. Even for women who had to quickly push out a baby and then find their way back to the economic system, in order to support themselves under Western culture. In indigenous society, you had time, you had help, you had the community that came together during those times of birth, death, resurrection, to afford us time to operate in balance. So now, if you don't demand it, if you don't ask for it, if you aren't conscious of it, it won't be given to you. It won't be given to you. And even we ourselves can too much time listen to gossip, or just talking to random stuff, with your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your homies, your partners. Only the most spiritual, only the most erudite, only the prophets, only those operating under the six-pointed star, which is the sign of the prophets, by the way. Are we even close to operating in our best intuition? And in all honesty, as a professional reader who has to do this every day, I'm not on point every day. And when I'm not on point, I don't answer my phone. I let my messages go to the voicemail. I let people email me, and I respond a day later, 2 days later, or I ask for time to get me together. We've over commercialized everything. So now you got your, I don't want to call out states, because the states would then tell you which networks I'm talking about. But you got these psychic networks, with state names, if that gives you a clue, and various other names, that are 24 hours a day, and they're offering you the best, unlimited experience possible. But no human is there 24 hours a day, on point every single day. Sleep is required, nourishment is required, downtime is required, study is required, recharging is required. So intuition will be great, and female intuition supersedes male intuition at every level. Just as I can't even tell by your name if you're male or female. But in keeping with the ritual calendar, today we also acknowledge Iyami. Iyami is a Yoruba word. It's a Yoruba concept that can be found in Voodoo tradition, Voodoo worldwide. But I'm using Yoruba words, Yoruba phraseology, Yoruba concepts, because it's the most prevalent, it's the most accessible. What I say can be documented, can be looked at, can be researched. So I often will use Yoruba. And sometimes, okay, Justice, thank you. And sometimes I will use Ewe. On the occasion, I'll use Igbo. But often I'll center in Yoruba because of the Orisha romance. And so there are 3 types of Iyami. There are black, white, red. According to Ifa spirituality, these 3 types of Iyami energy are available in the world. They're known as Ajay Dudu. That's your black Iyami energy. Ajay Pupa, that's your red Iyami energy. And Ajay Fun, that is your white Iyami energy. Don't disconnect now. Don't hang up now. It's rarely that I share this level of information. Catch it while you can. Witches. We often refer to Iyami as witches because in the West, that magic, that power is seen as a cult. It's seen as magical and is therefore looked at as witchcraft. But even in Nigeria, even in Ghana, I just realized I had a pot of water boiling. Let me go turn that off. Even in West Africa, when you talk to the Christianized individual, the Islamicized individual, where's my towel? They're often going to look at voodoo, Ifa, Akan as witchcraft. So Iyami has often been mistranslated and misunderstood as as witchcraft, and they have natural powers, spirit powers. Iyami are often associated with birds and flying powers. So when you see the crown of the Araba or the crown of the Oba, for instance, in Nigeria, you're most certainly going to see the bird symbolism atop of it. And so they are accused, particularly Ajay Dudu, the black Ajay. And I didn't make it clear. Iyami show up on earth as Ajay. And those of you who are familiar with the ritual calendar are aware of Ajay as a form of luck, to keep it simple. It's a little deeper than that. Luck, prosperity, yeah, it's a little bigger than that. But we say luck typically when we say Ajay. And it is believed that women have Ajay naturally, more so than men. Not that men can't possess Ajay. Men indeed can possess Ajay. They're the most dangerous. They have the power to kill. They drink blood, it said. They eat flesh. They will punish their victims and give no room for forgiveness. They will transfer the generational curse, the curse, the sins of the parent that fall on the child, and then become the generational curse, if you will. The black Aj can block your marriage, block your prosperity, create infertility, create the bad luck, if you will, and bad luck that seems to be the dark cloud over your head. But Ajay Pupa, the red Ajay, are seen as more dangerous than that. They can consume, they can carry vampiric energies that can be generational and passed down into the generations. Your Aj Fun are considered white, and they're considered positive. They don't kill. They don't eat flesh. They don't drink blood. They don't vampirically withdraw energy from people. In fact, they do the exact opposite. They can feed energy. They can feed power, feed knowledge, feed protection, feed the blessing. Iyami literally means our sacred mothers. Iya, mother, and Ami, mine, or more affectionate, my mother, me, my me. We can say that's my mother, that's my mom, but we can say that's my mommy. And in the Caribbean, Jamaica and Barbados, they use mommy more commonly in conversation as a term of endearment. So Iyami is our sacred mothers, our great mothers, and they are everywhere. They have it all, they give it all, and not unto everyone, only to the faithful devotees. You always see them, but you don't know who they are. Anyone who says they've been initiated by Iyami tells a lie. Anyone who can tell you they can give you or initiate you into Iyami is telling a lie. No one can initiate you into Iyami except the Iyami themselves. And there's a saying that we have here in the South that I've been able to document and trace back to West African origin, particularly as it relates to the power of Iyami, and that those who know don't tell. Those who tell don't know. And so we often speak in proverbs, in limericks, in layered symbolism, the power of Iyami. Even Aj or luck itself is elusive. Is elusive. Does the Aj reside, in the Western context, in the rabbit's foot, or in the lucky key, or in the magical charm, or does the Aj sit on the soul, on the spirit, on the person? Aj can, as I said, be can inhabit men as well, and it's often referred to as Oso. There are two types of Aj when we think of identity: male Aj, Osho, and female Aj, Ile Aye, Ile Aye, Aj. And so men indeed can uh, um, contain, protect, project Aj that's passed on from their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunties, and yes, indeed, from your woman, from your wife, from your partners. I say all the time that women can protect a man from his own bad luck, from his own karma, and often do. Men don't often receive the full brunt of their karmic repercussions for their bad deeds, their bad energy, their bad projections when their woman, who possess Aj naturally, protects them from that, shields them from that. I believe that's one of the reasons why the law, even in the Western culture, doesn't allow or allows for a woman not to uh, speak against or testify in court against her spouse. We automatically assume it's bias. You're always going to speak most affectionately, most positively of your love mate or your partner. But I also believe that there's some level going back into the Greco-Roman culture in which our judicial system comes out of, where they understood that power of women in Aj to affect change and transformation at their will in any given scenario. The power of the tongue is greatest in a woman. And that's why we historically have feared gossip and the gossip, and particularly the gossip, of women. I live in a small town, New Orleans. New Orleans has a big city, mentality, and a big city energy and a big city economy. But New Orleans is a small town. 7 degrees of separation is reduced to like 1 or 2 in New Orleans. Someone who's popular or out in public, like a Big Frida, like a Judge Joe Mathis, like a Manny Fresh, like myself, know almost everybody in town, or knows that one person or that those 2 people that then connect you to everybody else in town. So that 7 degrees of separation is real small in a small town like this. And so the power of the tongue, the power of a woman to spread good or to spread evil, to spread truth or to spread falsehoods is great in a small town. As opposed to a bigger city, your New York and your Chicago, that travels within your community, within your family, maybe within your church or your synagogue, or your temple space. But it might not travel to the greatest degree that it does in small towns, where people are close up on each other, closely tied and identified with their neighbors, the friends, the corner store shop owner, your coffee shop owner, your restaurateurs, we sort of know them up close and impersonal in a way that I couldn't even imagine when I lived in Los Angeles. or Chicago or New York City, these bigger cities. So the power of IJ, whether it come through men or women, is great and cannot be overstated and should never be underestimated. According to the Fa, according to Ifa, the difference between men and women is that women are born with Ofo. And so Ashe, or the power of the word, is greatest with women. It is indeed often the first that places morality, integrity, rules, a way of doing things in us. Even today, we still hear, mama's baby, papa's maybe. I heard just yesterday somewhere on some program, it might have been Wendy Williams that said, yeah, it was Wendy Williams that said that, the role of mother, though she wasn't negating the role of dad, but she suggested, like many of you do, that the role of mother is indeed most important than that of dad. And often in court, we see men now having to challenge the right to have visitation and responsibility and involvement in their children's lives, because even the courts still favor the mother to the dads, to the fathers, over the health and wellness of children. Indeed, we know men can exhibit all the nurturing, mothering needs necessary to bring about, a healthy, balanced child. And particularly a man who wants to, a man who's conscious of Iyami as it exists within us, and wants to be present in the child's life. Often these men belong to Orisha Oko, and the mysteries that are associated with Orisha Oko. In Aj and Iyami caught power authentically. But this is passed down, is often passed down and comes to us through song and through proverbs and through storytelling and many other avenues. This power is inferred on both men and women. My Blog Talk Radio chat keeps buffering. So forgive me if you're in the Blog Talk Radio chat and I'm not seeing you or responding to you in adequate time. Help me out, Yoel Adamus and Kiona, in moderating in the YouTube chat, and make sure I'm not missing anything. Oshumare, Hoodoo occultism, take that in out of there. You're talking about Oshumare. Oshumare is the rainbow, is the serpent in the rainbow in the Haitian voodoo Hollywood movie, Serpent in the Rainbow. They're alluding to Oshumare. Oshumare also exists in Yoruba, but it's not as popularized. It's not a part of the Orisha romance. Even when we discuss Obatala, we neglect Oshumare. If you haven't received Oshumare or you're not aware of Oshumare, Oshumare is also seen as dually sexed, and not necessarily male or female. He is a spirit of the rainbow. He is a messenger, like we identify Eshu, that carries messages back and forth from the higher octaves, the higher ranges, and then brings that down into the lower coordinaries. Oshumare indeed has medicinal power, herb knowledge. So it's very difficult to operate in Ewe in Yoruba, which is the healing plants, the healing herbs. You can't make an Orisha without Ewe. You can't often perform an Ebo without Ewe. So Oshumare is indeed present in all things. And Oshumare stands up in quartz crystal, controls quartz crystal, and passes his wisdom and his rainbow magic, if you will, through the power of quartz crystal. So as always, Hoodoo occultism, you're one of my erudite listeners and participants. You bring power to the word. You bring power in your questions. And Oshumare indeed stands up in what I'm referencing. Yoel Adamus uses the phraseology light code downloads. That's Oshumare. Oshumare speaks through light, through the rainbow, but also through light and through white light. Oshumare, like Dambala, a serpent deity in Haitian voodoo, who traverses the Pito Matan, which in Haitian Creole means the center post. It travels up to heaven and comes back down and brings that power manifestation. Because we got to take everything out of our head, out of the spirit realm, out of the realm of white light, and then bring it into our reality. It has to then manifest for my tarot readers in your pentacles, in your coins, in earth, physical, material, carnal manifestation. Those pentacles for my tarot readers also represent value, class, status, lifestyle, family value. That too is manifested through that Obatala, Dambala, Oshumare energy. There's a link, a connection there. Dan, Dan, like Nancy, Dan, that ties these forces, that ties these powers together. And indeed, they do ride with Obatala. Indeed, they do ride with Iyami. The serpentine powers operate with and through Iyami. April Anthony asked about an introduction book to Ifa. Wow. You know, questions about books are always complicated for me. Because I often suggest, I shouldn't say often, I always suggest that people read everything, that people expose themselves to everything. My books are all over the house right now. So my good Ifa books are in my library. They're not in the room. Let's see. Ella Baboon, who is the Araba, if you will, for Ifa from Oshogbo, Nigeria. He has a series of Ifa books that I strongly suggest. But I don't have any of them in front of me, and I can't reference them off the top of my head. They're also very difficult to get. You have to get them from people from Osogbo. And of course, there are African Americans here in the States. I know one Iyanifa, she's changed her name. I know her as Sable. But she's a priestess, I believe, of Oshun. She's received her hands of Ifa. She's traveled back and forth to Osogbo, Nigeria. Give me a second, I'm gonna pull her up on Facebook. Many times, and I know that she has access to the books, often sells the books. Her name is Ifa Seyi. I'm gonna put it in the chat. IFASEYI. And she is Apetebi, 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 which is a title, which is a authentic position in the traditions of Ifa. If you are Ifa specific, and you plan to initiate, spend money, travel to Nigeria, I strongly suggest her. She knows people on the ground. She has direct links to the Araba. Many of us do here in New Orleans, but she is actively operating in the tradition. So I suggest her. Um, I suggest her as a source, and particularly for books. John Mason has some great books, but not on Ifa. The question, okay, Grasping the Roots, Divine Power by Chief Yuya. I've never read that. I've never heard of that, but it may very well be a good book. There is no one like Mayat in in um, in Ifa. There is no one like Mayat, and it's dangerous to try and compare, to synchronize or syncretize, without fully understanding both systems that you're looking at. Ogu holds a machete, justice. There's a balance in the warriors, but you're talking about a group of spirits. So there's no direct singular counterpart to Mayat. Mayat is the law. Mayat is justice. Fa is the law in Ifa. The Fa is the law in Voodoo. Um, but if we were looking at deities specific, Ogu, Oshosi, there's many deities that would stand up in Ifa, as it relates to meting out justice. Eshu, Eshu stands in the middle, in terms of justice. So no, I can't make a direct correlation between Mayat specifically and a particular deity in Ifa. I appreciate your questions and I appreciate your active participation, Kiona, Hoodoo Occultism, Yoel Adamus. You all are my superstars who sort of keep the show going. I think they understand better than anyone that if you all aren't talking and asking questions, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on, because I have appointments. I have things to do. So help me out, Keon. Am I missing some of my questions? Justice, what are you talking about bringing newborns to work? What did I miss? That children at work came up in the conversation. Okay. Okay, maybe I'm scrolling up too high. Okay, thank you, Kiona, for your love and support and your active participation. Indeed, I am nothing without you and my community and the people who rely on me and support me, in what I do and what I bring forward to you each and every day. Um, Hotfoot Hoodoo occultism is asking about Hotfoot and the appropriate use of Hotfoot. Hotfoot is a commercial product, created by the Botanicas. And I talk about the Botanicas a lot. They're not often spiritual. They're not often owned or operated by people who know anything about voodoo or Ifa or root work or conjure at all. Hotfoot, just like To Be Quiet, is a commercial product created around what is a perceived need, a perceived desired product or means to an end. Hotfoot as a concept is not exactly real, in hoodoo, root work, and conjure. The idea of making people move around is absolutely real. That's one of my specialties. Tony, Val, and I can literally clear a block. And we've done so. We've done so for individuals. We've done so for city, municipalities, not just in Louisiana. We did it for the city of Memphis as well, where there might be crime in a block. We can clear that block. we can make the dope boys move around. And it's not a personal attack, but it will force energy that's not right, that's not holy, that's not pure, that's not favorable. It'll force that energy to move. And we use a skillet. Now, Hotfoot that you buy in the store, you know, they got their own thing. We use a cast iron skillet with charcoal coals in it. And then we have our own individual, unique mix. And so the Hotfoot is not necessarily sprinkled or placed on the ground. Our Hotfoot is a burning, incense burning, is a burnt offering. That's the proper language, is a burnt offering. And so it's something that we burn and then we fumigate an area. And people can't stand that product. You've heard me talk about people who can't stand dragon's blood, who can't stand the smell of sage, who can't stand the smell of frankincense and myrrh. And so there's some element of Hotfoot science behind that. And so it's a particular combination of herbs, plants, roots that are often burned that activate and create sort of what's known as a Hotfoot activity. The Hotfoot implies making people move around. That's what it implies. So real authentic action, and it doesn't need that powder that's sold at the Botanica. And often those powders have color dyes added to it to imply certain spirits, certain color combinations. But the Hotfoot that you buy that's prepackaged at the store is not. That's not real. That's not legitimate. I can give you a much better mix and how to use it to get people to move around. Protecting the home, I talk about that almost every day. Start with cleansing your ammonia solutions, your sweet water solutions, your house cleaning solutions. Always clean from the front, from the back to the front. There's actually, for those who are initiated or who have received Eshu, there are actual Odus that we can say that include sweeping. Eshu has a particular name that includes sweeping from the front, from the back to the front. And we sweep from the back to the front. You open the windows and you fumigate from the back to the front. And then you lay down tricks that can secure that in position for longer periods of time. Now, people who are working Orisha, they already have shrines and tricks laid down in very specific locations in their house. I often say, for those who are not initiated, for those who haven't received Lave Tet or Orisha, your front line of defense is your ancestors. Make sure your ancestral shrine is up to par. Make sure your ancestral altar is living, and so it's being fed. It's being maintained. Keisha Smith, email me about what particular potions, notions you're interested in making for yourself. Email me about that. Courageous Umi, welcome to the conversation. How do you see animal guides, spirit guides? You see them through the mirror technique that I talked about yesterday, for seeing past lives and other forms of your humanity. Some of you remember me saying on the show the last time we talked about animal totems and animal spirits that I don't have animal spirits. I can transform, I can utilize nature in that way, but I don't have an animal totem or an animal spirit, and I can't and have not been able to locate an incarnation where I was just animal. But many of you have. And so through the candle and mirror technique, meditating in a mirror, scrying is really what you're doing, scrying, S-C-R-Y-I-N-G, into a mirror. will allow you to see not only past life forms, but also animal totems, and your animal nature. We all have animal nature as humans. So your insect consciousness and your animal consciousness live in the body, exist in the body. But I've never been able for myself to recall, invoke, regress to an animal uh, totem that what I would say I was specifically panther, or I was specifically wolf. Some of you are werewolves. Some of you, are other things beyond just animal totems. So that would be one way in which I would do that. There are also, beloved Native American ritual practices that will call animal totems to you that require you going out into nature and performing the ritual in nature, and then the animal totems will reveal themselves to you, will cross your path. Cause y'all are throwing a lot at me right now, so I'm trying to make sense. Hoodoo occultism, I kind of responded to how to protect the home. If you want to be more specific, email me. Yeah, past lives, Kiona, are really interesting because they greatly affect what we do in today, how we operate today, um, what spirit gifts manifest today. And often our work, particularly those of you who are so consumed with soulmates and love and relationships, often that work, our work, is attached to past lives. Um, there are very few souls right now on the planet that are brand new. There's very few souls on the sound of my voice right now who have never been here before. And this is all anew to you. Most of us have been here several times before, more than once, over and over again, and have worked to complete, to continue, um, to perfect, if you will. Um, and so when we think about soulmates and love and relationships, that often comes up in the context of things. People aren't first clear about their spirit journey before they try and beat the clock in terms of love relationships. And this Western culture doesn't help, particularly women. You're always hearing conversation about your biological clock and being an old maid, and a woman has to marry and have children at a particular age, and all that kind of effort and responsibility is unduly and unnaturally placed on a woman's head in many cultures. And so that idea of soulmates and love and getting to it, before you reach a certain age, is really strong. It competes against standing up in identity. Even in a Western context, women are just now being able to say, oh, I can be president, I can be boss, I can be, corporate head, I can have a destiny and a life beyond just marriage and children. And some women are competing with that. How do I have a career and be a corporate head and be a boss and still do all that? And my hat's off to you. I applaud, the men and women who are doing that and able to do that in balance, in balance. But I think the spirit should proceed. The spirit should supersede. The spirit should be our main concern in terms of clarifying why we're here and what we're here to do, and what is my purpose. I know I'm skipping all over the place, so please forgive me. April Anthony, first of all, I acknowledge my ancestors every day. Every day. So I'm checking libation, omi every day. I might give coffee once or twice a week. I might feed food once a week. And then, of course, those who are operating in my active work ancestral work and divination know how to question the ancestors about sufficiency. Is this sufficient? Do you require more? Am I doing too much? Should I focus on something else? Those who've gone through and received my ancestral work and divination, or those who've actively received Egun properly through other traditions, they know what I'm referencing. There's a way of asking your ancestors, are they satisfied with the offerings? Are they satisfied with the level of acknowledgement? Indeed, if I'm in distress, back in those years when I was, chronically homeless and a young beignets and coffee to Marie Laveau every day. Now, of course, you can't go in the cemetery like that every day unless you are me or a tour guide, But back then, I would find my way in every day. And there's ways to be crafty and creative and find cemeteries that are a little bit more open, a little bit more accessible. And you never want to take anything synthetic, anything artificial. You want to use paper bags, paper things that are going to degrade and break down, or leave the offerings on the ground directly. You don't want to litter. I'm not inviting anyone to litter our cemeteries or anyone else's cemeteries or sacred ground. But in terms of your shrines at home, yes, you put your food down on the floor. You have your liquor and your rum and your sweet liqueurs and coffee, and some ancestors like cream, and some ancestors like black coffee, and some ancestors like beer. And yes, you feed when there's a need. You feed ritually. Those who operate within the tradition feed ritually. So there's a ritual cycle too. Thank you for your questions and comments. Let me look at Block Talk Radio. No, Keone is the only one who has her hand raised in Block Talk Radio. So I'm good there. Thank you for all of your questions. Okay, Urban Gorilla, is it possible to communicate with Ileki, and can you share some knowledge about Sajidi? Okay, Ileki, no. And in all due honesty, I'm not willing to answer that question based on how you asked it, because it suggests you're not initiated. And I strongly am against them to be Alekis, because they're not. You're wearing beads. If they have not been consecrated properly and appropriately in accordance with your head in the appropriate ceremony, you're just wearing beads. So I'm answering that for you, beloved, but also for people who might be listening. Because this might not be you, but it's how you ask the question. So no, I don't suggest people try and communicate with a Lakey or their beads in that way, unless you're qualified to do so. There's a divination with your Ilekis that I'm not even comfortable going into detail right here on camera, in which we can identify a power that might be coming through, that might be communicating. And even in that case, when it's done, that does the work of travel you can't touch on, you can't reach, but Sajidi can. And so we use Sajidi. Sajidi again is a path of Eshu. We use Sajidi to address outside affairs, things that I might not be able to touch myself. Sajidi can. Sajidi goes on spirit missions, and so you send Sajidi to do things in the spirit realm. And the spikes, the nails, the shards of glass or the shards of mirror that you would typically find embedded in Sajidi are not negatives, but they're actually positives. They're almost like a prayer satisfied, a request satisfied. So the more embedded parts the Sajidi has, the more work he has done, the more successful the Sajidi. Now, the problem with botanicas is you can buy a Sajidi from a botanica full of nails that's never been embedded, that's never been consecrated, that's never been anywhere. And so, again, you got to be careful, not you, Urban Gorilla, but anyone who might be listening, and thinking you can buy into the tradition without being exposed to the secrets or the mysteries. I have a powerful Sajidi. I have another smaller Sajidi, but much more powerful Sajidi that I actually mailed to one of my godchildren who needed it. Sajidi has done great things for me. Sajidi, I'm almost hesitant to retell the story because the story is already out there in the community. And I don't want to further the idea that voodoo is evil, that voodoo is dark. But some of you are aware, someone broke into my house about 5 years ago, violated some shrines, violated some altars, took some liquor off of Sajidi, and was dead within 7 days. Was dead within 7 days. So Sajidis are extremely volatile. Everyone should not have a Sajidi. Everyone should not possess a Sajidi. Your constitution has to be right with a Sajidi. Because if you are, black candle, witchcraft, you ready to curse at every corner, at every alternative, at every disrespect, you ready to curse, you shouldn't own a Sajidi. The mirrors embedded in Sajidi send that energy back to you. So you've got to operate and act accordance with the law when utilizing a Sajidi, when sending Sajidi out to do various tasks. Because ultimately, the chickens come home to roost. Ultimately, Sajidi must return home to his owner, to the possessor of the Sajidi. Thank you so much, Arisha. I really intended to do more, particularly with Kiona's motivation. I just didn't have time to do it. I just didn't have time to make a new B affirmation video. I'm going to try and do it today. But I appreciate your support and acknowledgement of Omolu at 6 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time every day, sending him out to attack the virus, to do the work of presenting and bringing forth the antidote to the virus. The Sajidi would attack. The Omolu is a bringer in the creation of the antidote. The antidote. And of course, you can't have an antidote without inlay, without Orisha Oko, without Oshosi, because these spirits stand up and govern our plants, our herbs, our trees, our bark, our roots, our fruits, our vegetables, and the airway power embedded therein. Okay, Urban Gorilla, ask me that off air. There's too many questions I need to know. I can't take your word for it. I need to know who consecrated. Where did you get it? Who was that? When was that? It's too personal of a question for me to ask live on air. And I talked about this yesterday. I'm very hesitant to buy into it's consecrated, or I've been initiated, or I received some appropriately, particularly if it's consecrated. If it's consecrated, you should already know how to connect. How does the practitioner, how does the Babalawo, how does the God parent consecrate it, but then not tell you how to connect with it? Email me, Urban Gorilla. That's not going to work. Email me, beloved. It's too many questions. Too many questions. Kiona, now there are deities that like to cuss. That like to cuss. And I don't know who you think you riding with. I don't know who you think is on your head, Kiona, but you every bit Eshu. You have a lot of Eshu qualities. You have a lot of Eshu qualities, and therefore you're operating with both hands. You're operating with both hands. Eshu like to cuss. There are deities that like profanity. Urban Gorilla, I'm anticipating an email, beloved. You're just putting yourself out there now, and I don't know how often you get to listen to the show, but in the most recent days, you hitting all my pet peeves right now. Okay. People who say it's consecrated, people who say I've been initiated, people who say, oh well, I had godparents, but this happened, and now I need you to explain. And then there are the cases where indeed, okay, it might be consecrated. Indeed, someone might have been exposed to, but you weren't given what you're due. And so an item can't be consecrated without someone telling you how to work with it, how to operate in it, especially something as volatile as a sajiti. There are things you absolutely cannot do with a sajiti, or it will bring you bad luck. It will come back double fold on you in manifestation. Forgive me, Blog Talk Radio, for not checking in on my tab. Please, please call me now at area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143, and then press that number 1 on your telephone keypad. Urban Gorilla, call me. If you're not using your mobile right now to view me, call me with your question, your comment, your request. Let's talk about that sajiti. Let's talk about it, beloved. Am I missing other questions, Kiona, beloved?
Yes, Hoodoo occultism had a question about using mantras while meditating. He wanted you to talk about that.
Okay, I'm trying to find that question just so I can get the context of it. But mantras are very powerful. Mantras are not called that irishly in African traditions for the YouTube live audience. We're buffering. Are you with me now? Forgive the buffering. Yes. Mantra obviously is a word that comes out of India, that comes out of Asia, that comes out of the Middle East. We indeed have mantra all over the world. We just don't call it mantra. So you can't Google African mantras. Yoruba specific. This exists in all the ethnic groups, but Yoruba specific, you have Odu and you have Oriki. Now, if a reader reads divines for you from Odu, then gives you the name of that Odu, and all my godchildren, all my recent callers in the last week, you have the name of your Odu. Now, if you're committed to it, and I know when people are committed to it because they email me, they call me, they ask questions. What do I do with this? How do I further this? If you don't ask, I don't tell you. If you don't ask, I don't give it to you. Unless you're initiating. Because people who are initiating with me have asked in their initial initiation request. They've asked. So I'm giving them this information that I'm now sharing with you now. So that Odu has a name, and then it has proverbs, taboos, precautions, ebos, homework, instructions attached to it, and it also has mantras. And those mantras are often referred to as Oriki. So for instance, today we acknowledge Egungun, today we acknowledge Obatala, today we acknowledge Iyami, today we acknowledge Omolu. And so we would chant Oriki. Chant Oriki. And Oriki, you can find Orikis in Yoruba and in English. In Yoruba and in English. in Yoruba and in English, all over the internet. They got them in Facebook. It's all kind of Babalaos and Iya, Nifas, and who have copied and pasted them into Facebook. So those chants are mantras. Those chants are mantras. And I'm going to go back earlier to the I King question. What do you do with the I King? So somebody who's not a Babalao, who's not an Iyanifa, who then receives their I King and knows a certain number or a certain set of Odu, they're going to pound those I King and chant those Odu. And chant those Odu. People who have received the hand Ifa or on their journey to become practitioners and leaders in the tradition are going to recite all of the Odu, 256 Odu, every Fa day, every Ifa day. And so there are mantras. Now, I often reduce the mantras down to English because many of you are still struggling with other languages, are still struggling with learning Ewe and Fan and Yoruba. And so I don't think it makes a lot of sense to chant something over and over again, to recite something over and over again that you don't understand. I didn't understand when I was in the church. People quoting Bible scriptures that they didn't understand, that they hadn't delved into at a deeper level, so that it's vibrating, at the spiritual level. So I often teach and advise mantras in English that people know what they're saying, that people can connect to, without trying to figure out, well, what am I saying exactly? So one of my mantras is, all is a blessing. All is a blessing. It's in English. Right away you don't understand what I'm saying. Well, I'm having a hard time. Where's all is a blessing in that? But over time, many of you have contacted me, reached out to me, and said, okay, I get it. Now I get the all is a blessing. Greetings, MW. I'm not sure who you are. Are you male or female? Those initials take me all the way back to my childhood. So I don't know if you're, my childhood friend with the initials MW, but I welcome you. I'm not picking at your name. It's just a name that I can't, I can't make sense of it yet. But I greet you. Thank you so much. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Thank you for asking. Okay, Melvin Williams. Thank you for asking. So I don't know you. You're not my old childhood friend, but I welcome you just the same. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Can't you tell? If I wasn't doing well, you would know. I wouldn't get on here and complain about it, but you would know. I vent. I get things off my chest. A closed mouth doesn't get fed, which is a common mantra here in the South. So if I needed something, I would say, I would ask. And so yes, I'm grateful for your concern and your question and your asking. Thank you kindly. Yeah, Keisha, it's a lot of scamming. I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing right now, but yeah, it's a lot of scamming. Let's see. Are we still talking about Sajidi? What are we looking at? Help me out, Kiona. Am I missing my questions? Let me check my phone lines while Kiona helps me get my chat together. Okay, area code 585. I'm opening your mic.
It's just we waiting on Urban Gorilla to call in.
585.
Yeah, I'm here right now.
Okay, greetings, beloved. Peace and blessings.
That's me.
Where are you calling from?
You talking to Urban Gorilla?
Yes.
Okay. Alafia.
Alafia.
From New York, Rochester, New York.
Okay, greetings and salutations.
From Rochester, New York.
Thank you kindly. I was unfamiliar with that 585 area code. There's so many new area codes now in these bigger...
yeah, I never called in.
Yeah. So,
I always use the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
But you probably familiar with my name. My name is Adrian Dorsey. Been
Yeah,
on the show a lot.
yeah, I'm familiar with your name, and you've been around for a long time. You're not
Yeah.
new. So listen, let's talk about the Sajidi. I'm not being shady. I wasn't trying to call you out, but that's
No, I
something
understand.
that I talk about often. People will come to me, for services or as a client or whatnot, and they spit all this stuff out to me that I'm supposed to just accept. So when you say it's consecrated, I need to know how, by who. And why would they give you a consecrated item and not tell you how to operate with it?
No, it's not that they didn't give me instructions. I just was cross-examination, basically. I wanted to see your knowledge on it. But I received it from the Ifa Foundation, from Iyami Vasa.
And did she just
Also received my hand of Ifa from there.
under what conditions did she give you the Sajidi?
What you mean by conditions? You mean the instructions, what to do with it, what not to do with it?
No. My question is specific. Under what conditions? Sajidi is given as an ebo. We don't typically set up Sajidi like we would Orisha, for example. Someone might have Ilegwa, someone might have an Oshu shrine. You don't set up Sajidi because you have a preference for it or an interest in it. It commonly is attached to a need. So there's some condition in which Sajidi is offered.
Oh, for protection.
And you can't receive
protection.
And then therefore it would have come with an Odu. She would have thrown a hand, shells would have been thrown, palm nuts would have been thrown, an Odu would have been given. That Odu has a name, and then that would be attached to the Sajidi. So that's what I mean when I say under what conditions, and if it was given appropriate.
I didn't get an Odu.
Right, so that makes me, I'm not, you know me, I'm not the guy who's here to battle other people, other practitioners. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it's hard.
No, that's actually why I'm asking you. So
yeah, if you didn't,
why I'm asking.
Yeah, if you didn't get that.
Because now you're telling me something that I didn't know.
Yeah, and when you received it, I'm assuming it was mailed to you, right?
Yes.
Was it wet?
No.
Yeah, that I just described Sajidis that people can buy in botanicas that's never been in battle. And the nails, or the shards of glass, or the shards of metal, depending on the type of Sajidi that you have, are embedded in the Sajidi individually, not all at one time, individually, each time the Sajidi is sent out on a mission. So someone who has a full body Sajidi, then that should be an old Sajidi. It should be old. It's been used. It's been the Sajidi that I mailed my godchild, Paul, who's often in the chat. I've had that Sajidi almost 10 years. And then I sent it to him. So when I say is it wet, then it's got something on it. Okay? And I don't mean water. Okay? It's been given.
Yeah, I know it came with herbs. They got some kind of like, I don't know if it's blood, but it's like red powder that's on it now.
It might have powder. Now that sounds like a new Sajidi. And it has Ifan on it. Ifan. But it should also have evidence of blood, evidence of palm oil, suggesting that it has absolutely been in ceremony. Again, if you don't
I actually witnessed the ceremony.
Okay, but they didn't give you no Odu?
Yeah, I didn't get no Odu though. That's basically why I'm asking you. Like I watch you.
Without the Odu, there's no instruction.
I asked you the question that I asked you.
Yeah,
that's why I was asking you about the hand of Ifa too.
Yeah, without the Odu, there's no instructions. There's no name. There's no instructions. You don't know what to call the Sajidi. You don't know how to activate the Sajidi. You don't know what the Sajidi for lack of a better word, is allergic to. Okay, in some Odus, there's certain things you can't eat, certain things you can't drink, certain things the Sajidi cannot be exposed to. So I would still have to address your question off air. And if I were to help you at all,
Okay.
that Sajidi would have to be reconsecrated. And that would include a ceremony
Okay.
and an Odu. And in that Odu, what do you do? What do you not do? How do you activate the Sajidi? And when? I don't feed my Sajidi every day. I don't feed my Sajidi within the context of the ritual calendar. And someone who has received a
Yeah, I
hand.
was told to do it on Saturday. That's what I'm told to do.
I'm just breathing.
A list of what to.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can see me right now, bro. I'm just breathing. That's why I'm quiet. I'm just breathing.
I'm on
Okay. Because when I hear you say, they told me to do it on a Saturday, that sounds like a 7-day ritual calendar. And we don't work on a 7-day ritual calendar in Ifa. We just don't. It's a completely different number of days in a West African work week, in a West African ritual week. And again, I can't say it out loud live here on the program. And I say it too many times why I can't. Because people listening to us, maybe not you, Urban Gorilla, but people listening to us will duplicate what I say and will come back next week and call in on the show and say, I got a hand Ifa and I got a consecrated Sajidi, and can you tell me how to operate in it? And it's all a perpetration. It's all a perpetration. When you receive your hand Ifa, you should have been given an Odu. That Sajidi, I'm going to assume what the real situation would look like. You had a problem with the police, with the law, with the justice system, with your life in some cases. Odu was then thrown, and Sajidi stood up in the Odu. Then the Sajidi had to be consecrated in a completely separate ceremony from the divination, because we don't mix Orumila with other Orisha. Orumila is the only Orisha that governs the board. And then Orisha stand up in the board. So it might say, you need this from Eshu, and you need rogation from Yemaya, and you need, the other. So then that is done separately. And your Sajidi would have an Odu, which is really the name for your Sajidi. And in that name, whether it's a Meiji, sometimes it's a Meiji, sometimes it's 2 distinct principles from the 16 principles, the 16 Ikin, and one I identify as the parent, the male parent, one is the female parent, and together they birth a new Orisha, so when we say, for instance, Irete Agbi, Irete is a power by itself. If it's by itself, it's a Meiji. It's always assumed to be a Meiji. Agbi is a power by itself. But when they're put together, they then form a new name. And now it's Ireti Agbi. And Ireti Agbi is going to either be an Ire or a Sokbo. Ire means things that come quickly, in speed. The blessing or the curse that's going to happen quickly, and you got to catch it, maximize it in that moment, and then it moves away. A Sokbo means not necessarily negative, but things that come with great effort, things that are going to come over time, things that require a process. And so there's always a Sokbo and an Ire. There's also another word for a Sokbo, because people from a Sokbo don't use that word. They use a completely different word to represent that balance. And I'm already throwing out too many words to represent that balance. And that balance helps you determine the orientation of the Odu. So it's either going to be, Really, really powerful, really fleeting.
Seconds.
Let's handle it. Let's.
Basically, I shouldn't even have been able to request a shigiri.
You asked for it.
Yes.
Yeah, that should not have happened. Not like that. You should have said, let's paint the perfect picture. I'm having a problem. It's with the law. It's with a judge. You know, it's with child support. You know, whatever the issue is. Somebody's threatening my life. Then the Odu is thrown.
Yeah.
It's in the Odu that.
Yeah, then it was asked for like that, but I didn't get an Odu though.
Yeah.
I don't know it. That process. That's what I was basically.
So I'm willing to give you that, but you gotta do it off air. You gotta follow my protocol because
okay.
I'm going to have to throw a new Odu. And let me ask you, though I know I shouldn't ask you this on air, but are you still working with her?
Yes.
See, that's an issue. That's problematic. Technically, I can't touch you now. If you've really received a hand Ifa from her and it's legitimate, I can't touch you. I can't touch you.
10 seconds.
You gotta follow the instruction of your godparents. You gotta follow the instruction of your godparents. And she cannot be, I said this early in the show, she cannot be both Babalao and Iyanifa and Orisha priest at the same time. It don't work like that.
Yeah.
If she's your godmother, then she's an Orisha priest. Or she's an Apatabi, which is a wife of a Babalao. Or she has the skills to address, you know, divination and many other things. She would then send you to the Babalao.
Her and her husband.
Right.
Her husband, the Babalao.
Okay, she would then send you to the Babalao.
I believe they did it together, basically. I mean, I believe they worked together.
Right. So the
along with, like, I think it's like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, that's the way it should be done. But I don't understand you not getting a name, not getting an Odu, not getting any instructions.
I got instructions, but there was nothing like what you just gave me. So that's why I basically was asking the question, just to cross-examination.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. I'm gonna have to ask my elders, because if they didn't throw an Odu, there's no blueprint. Ain't no footprint. And so for me now to throw an Odu and to give you a whole set of protocols and instructions, she would have to accept them. And I know that if I was in the same position, I ain't doing it. I don't let people come to me and say, I've been initiated over here, it's half done, you know, but I'm still in contact with, not with me. You either have to sever those ties and start again with me and do it right. Or you need to go back to those people and ask why. You got information that you got information that there are things missing, and you need understanding now as to why. That's scary to me, because they playing around with your life, especially if it was your life, because we only get Sajidi in the extremest of circumstances. I've only gifted one Sajidi. Let me think before I say a lie. Yeah, I've only gifted one Sajidi in the last 10 years, and that client is a police officer. Again, someone who's in danger, their life is in danger, or they're caught up in the judicial system in a not good way. I don't want to tell all his business, but yeah, there was a problem.
So can you give me a question to direct towards them in order?
Yes.
What?
Yes. I've done a little research. I've talked to an elder. I'm concerned that my Sajidi doesn't have a name, an Odu, a blueprint for how to move forward with it. And if they say, oh, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, when you threw the Odu, that said that I should have the Sajidi, what Odu were you all reading? They should be able to answer that without an argument. And it should be documented. It should be documented. Now, if y'all don't realize it or not, every reading we do is documented. Because when you come back to me, I'm going to build on the Odu that fell before it. Like a tree, like a tower. So there's got to be an Odu. Are they Hispanic?
Yes.
I'm shocked. Oh God, I'm shocked. Where are they from?
Florida.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm shocked.
You ever heard of the Ifa Foundation?
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't.
The big resort out there in Florida?
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't say their name out loud again. Only because I'm not trying to, you know me, I'm not trying to go on the attack. I'm not trying to look like I'm attacking. You know, we all know preachers that do that, you know, that talk down every other church, that talk. I don't want to look like that's what I'm doing, but it's some things that ain't right there, beloved. It's some things that ain't right. So yeah, that would be my question.
That's exactly why I asked you.
Yeah, that would be my question. And what do I do with this Sajidi? Now you did say they gave you some instruction. So you know, where does it go? How do I feed it if I'm to feed it at all? And that's a trick question. Because technically the initiates never feed Sajidi on their own. Never feed Ogu on their own. Never feed Eshu on their own. And never feed the Aikin on their own. You have to carry that back to your Babalao, your Iyanifa, or your godparents. So that was a bit of a trick question. But how to care for it, what to do with it, how to acknowledge it, that all is embedded in the Odu. So that scares me a little bit. Is it safe for you to tell me where you keep it?
I actually have it in my bedroom window.
It shouldn't be in your bedroom. You live alone?
No.
Okay, so I get.
That's actually why I have it.
I get it. You didn't have to say. I got it. I got it. All my questions are coded or trick. I got it. I understand why you got it in your bedroom. I get it. I get it. Yeah, they should have given you some very clear instructions, beloved. So I'm not going to ask you much more about it, about what's around it, what else is there. I'm going to wait to get your email response. I'm still willing to help you out. I'm just on the fence about.
So you said, ask what's the Odu and what was the other?
Yeah, what's the Odu and what's the name of it are kind of the same question. What's governing this Sajidi? Okay. What's powering it? What force is standing up in it? And that's born from Odu. So you without that Odu, you don't know what you got.
Yeah.
Even if we were talking about Eshu, Ilegwa, you know, we recently talked about that on the show and how easily people can go in the store and buy them and then bring them back into their house. And I have to, you know, tell people not only is it empty, is it hollow, it has no organs, no innards, but you have no name for it. You have no personality for it if no divination has been done. So yeah, I would ask, what's its name? What divination was thrown? Because you don't know how to operate with it without that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to ask you why they gave it to you. I'm not going to ask you that, not on air. But I'm curious. What kind of problems were you having there? Yeah. So I'll wait.
Definitely get back to you.
Yeah. I'll wait to see your email. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Yes. You can stay with me if you wish.
You
just mute yourself so that we don't hear your background noise. And then, of course, if you have a question or comment, unmute yourself and just come on back in. I want to respond to Kiana. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Set up a sacred space for your ancestors. Now, this isn't the same thing as you reaching out to me by email and receiving instruction, ancestral work and divination. But right now, for you and anyone who may not be initiated, anyone who may not have godparents, may not be working with anybody yet, you want to create a sacred space for them. Gather photographs, gather obituaries. That's easier said than done in some families. Some families are kind of close, and you can kind of ask for those things, and no questions will be asked. No one will suspect what you're doing. In other cases, people might ask what you're doing. And so if, depending on the religious nature of your family, the cultural nature of your family, you may or may not want to go into a great detail about why you're asking for it. But you want to gather obituaries. You want to gather pictures if you can. If you indeed have grandma's stuff, your brother or sister stuff, your mom or dad's stuff, you want it to be in the space with this shrine, with this altar. To some degree, that's the case in my family, beloved. My family is broken. My family is torn. I communicate with my mom and not my dad. I communicate with my sister Rapani, my mother's child, but I don't hear a lot from my other brothers and sisters, my dad's children. I don't hear a lot from either side of my family. My mother's family is very small, very few boys. My dad's family is very large. Boys, girls, children. But I have a few aunties that I can connect with, a few cousins, older cousins, 60s, 70s, 80s, that I can connect with. And they keep me in the loop. They make sure I get the information. They make sure I know who passed and that somebody mails me an obituary. Often it's my mom. They trust my mom more than me because my mom is evangelical Christian. So my mom might get 2, 3, 4 copies of the obituary and then mail one to me. So set up a sacred space for them. Let them know that they are acknowledged. Let them know that you are inviting their interference. And I don't mean negative interference. I mean their involvement in your life, in your activities, in your hopes, in your dreams. In your challenges, if you will. Invite them in through activity. Never keep anyone living in this space, whether it's a coffee table up against a wall, whether it's a corner table nestled in a corner. Don't put your babies and your children and the living imagery in that space, because we're acknowledging the dead. We're acknowledging Egun. We're acknowledging those who are on the other side. We're acknowledging Egun, which is a form of ancestors. Those are newly dead. Those are the dead that you know. Those are the dead that are close to you. Those dead are not always evolved. They may have been sick in life, literally and figuratively. They may have been very problematic in life. And so we placate them. We satiate them. We serve them on the ground, and we feed food and sweets and libations on the ground to keep them still and at peace while they go through this sort of active process of healing, evolving in the spirit realm. Catholics refer to that as purgatory. Then there are the Egungun, the evolved ancestors. They're higher evolved. They're not quite so problematic. They've already been healed in the spirit realm. They now are imparting something that is useful to humanity, that is beneficial to humanity. So it might be your favorite grandma who looked out for you when she's alive and is absolutely still looking out for you in the spirit realm. Also, Egunguns that may not necessarily be a blood relative, not necessarily, or might be 20 generations removed, 10 generations removed. We also acknowledge, your Dr. Kings and your Malcolm X's and your Nefertiti's and your Cleopatras and your great leaders and rulers in the world who might be intersecting with your bloodline. By way of 23andMe, for instance, I use 23andMe and I also use ancestry.com in terms of distinguishing my DNA and my DNA relatives. And it was 23andMe that connected me back to Kemet, back to ancient Egypt, and back to specific people, specific figures who stand up as Egunguns in my bloodline. I'm trying to pull it up now. Of course, my Google browser is moving slow. It's almost like they know I need to use it. They know what I'm looking for. They know what I'm trying to do while I'm live on air, so it's a problem. But I got it now. It's loading. So it was by way of 23andMe that I got more specific details about my Kemetic ancient Egyptian ancestry, and to mention people specifically. So I'm a direct descendant of Ramses III. Ramses III and I are related. So he's probably a great, 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 great grandfather 30 times removed, 35 times removed. But I now have proof that I indeed do have that pharaonic, ancient Egyptian ancestry, even in my lineage, even in my DNA. So some of you got a favor for Egypt, and that's okay. Some of you have a favor for Orisha. That's okay. But Orisha is living. Orisha are considered living. We don't mix the dead and the living together. So don't bring Orisha into your ancestral shrine. There's a word for the parents of the Orisha that exists in the ancestral realm that we use in Yoruba. And they're called, every time I get ready to say my foreign words live on air, I had that brain freeze. They are the Irumale. IRUN, not like Nancy. Irun Mole, MOLE, Irumale. They are the parents, the great-grandparents, the ancestors of the Orisha. So we only speak of, Orisha-like characteristics only in relationship to that, only in relationship to Irumale. So it's okay to have, Asian imagery, Kemetic imagery, African imagery, Mayan imagery, Aztec imagery as it relates to the ancestral origins of your lineage. But don't bring anything else, spirit or humanity, into your shrine, into your altar that's living. And then get with me. And then contact me to get your ancestral work and divination done. I did hear the countdown, Kiona, even if you didn't. So we're well into Blog Talk Radio archive. So no one can call in now on the live phone lines. There are only two people who I can open your mic, and that's, of course, Kiona, whose mic is always open. And then I have a 404 area code who's still on the phone line. If you choose to raise your hand to press number 1, I'll open your mic and allow you, area code 404, to ask questions, comments. You two, you and Kiona, will be my star co-host for the remainder of the show. So 404, your mic is open. I think I said your area code 3 times, 404. So your mic is now open. You can ask your questions, make your comments, speak your truth. All is a blessing. 404, turn your...
Queen Kashir had a question. So I don't want to be overbearing and say send an email, so I will...
No.
You to spearhead your show.
Okay, is she on the phone lines or
Hello?
is she in chat? Yes, area code 404, please speak up. Who's calling?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, who's calling?
Okay, my name is Sherilyn Simon. I'm calling with a question.
Hold on. Where are you calling from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Greetings, beloved. Thank you so much for representing for Georgia and calling in. What is your question?
Thank you.
Please turn your YouTube down.
No.
Turn the volume on your
yes.
YouTube down.
Okay. So A follow-up to the urban gorilla question, the person who had the sigilly.
Sajidi.
I have some sigilly. I have some art that I bought in this, some African art that I bought in this art store that is from the Dogon tribe in Mali, West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have the nails in it, but
Mm-hmm.
it does have the paste and the cowrie shells on it.
Mm-hmm.
And would that be something someone was working with, or because I just purchased it, I didn't know that they were working on it. Was something maybe that they had used to work with.
Let me say this first, because I get where you're coming from. I totally do. And you for some reason, even though I can't see you, you have the energy of one of my aunts, Sandra Banks from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who traveled the world, went to Africa, brought back a whole bunch of stuff, and then started seeing manifestations in her house. Then started seeing things run from corner to corner in her house. And eventually got rid of all her African art. Unfortunately, I was very young at the time. I was 13, 14, 15 years old at the time. I didn't have the mindset that I have now. Otherwise, I would have kept all that art that she got rid of. So I want to go back to what you said. I heard you say cowrie shells. I want you to repeat the other item that you said was on it before you said cowrie shells.
Okay, so it's a wooden depiction of a man, and around the chest, breast area, it has what looks like packs of clay from the arms all the way down the chest, and on top of the clay, there are cowrie shells. And then on top of his head, in the form of a cone, there is more of the clay in the shape of a cone.
Okay, I got you. Hold on for a second. I got you. I can hear your breath, so I knew you were getting ready to say something. Traditionally, Africans did not create art. Traditionally. Hear what I'm saying. Everything had a purpose. Everything had a usage. Now, they would make it beautiful. They wanted it to be attractive. It would speak a language, but everything had a usage. Now, when we look at art, I personally have a gallery. I'm not going to say the gallery name because I don't need competition with the pieces that I'm buying. It's an art gallery, and they collect crowns, spears, jewelry, statuary, masks, implements, everything. They collect them. They make it clear when they sell a piece that it's either been used or not used in a ceremony. So I don't know if your piece came with paperwork. I don't know if you can still go back to, let's say, their website and pull up your sold piece and it has any written material attached to it. But it should always tell you, like for instance, this website might say, it's a beautiful piece. It's intact. It's in great condition. However, we're concerned that it doesn't have batima, which is a bruising. If I rub something enough, it leaves a bruise. It leaves a mark. It fades the color, if I grab it in a certain way. That's how experts are able to validate whether an African piece was created for tourists and to be sold in the market as art, or if it was actually used. Now, sometimes those pieces, they're real, they're authentic, but they have all the elements of ritual work. Now, your piece sounds like it could have very well been used, or it was created to be used, like a sajidi, that's got all the nails already in it, but it's just never been done. It's never been actually consecrated or used in a ceremony. You didn't say it, but I feel concerned. So I would ask, just like my auntie Sandy, has it done anything? Are you experiencing anything? Is it doing anything weird in your house?
Well, that's the point. I'm not really sure, but I believe I have. I'm not real clear whether it was the piece that I had sitting in the area when I had the experience, or the actual, or something else. So, and not only that, but also this same art shop, I brought pieces for my children. So my son has a Dogon mask hanging up in his house that I bought for him. And my daughter has a figurine from the same art gallery.
Are they from the East Coast?
uh, there in Atlanta as well.
Oh, okay, okay. I might know who you're talking about. Okay, yeah, yeah. You should.
Oh, the gallery is in Maryland.
Oh, the gallery is in Maryland. Okay, so it is on the East Coast.
It's not even a gallery. It's actually someone who collects a lot of this art. I don't know, his connections, but I mean, he had a lot of very nice, authentic pieces from the Dogon area, from the Dogon people. And, very nice, expensive pieces, but these were things that I selected
And is
out
it
of
a
his shop.
is it a
So
statue or a
he doesn't have a
mask?
website. I bought both, two statues and a mask.
Yeah, if you would, just take pictures of it and send me an email, and I
Okay.
can then better tell you what it is, how it was used or was intended to be used, and to what degree
Okay.
you should be concerned about it. Now, you haven't so
Okay.
far, and I've given you more than one opportunity. So far, you haven't said anything negative. You haven't suggested that it's keeping you up at
No,
night.
no, there was nothing, no, nothing negative at all. Nothing negative at all, but definitely some very powerful activity. Um, so, but
Cowrie
still
shells,
not clear whether
right. Beloved, cowrie
cowrie
shells
shells are
typically don't have any negative connotation to it. Cowrie shells either represent numbers or children or financial, monetary imagery. Sometimes it's represented as an offering to a particular spirit, which could be contained in the packet that you describe on the statuary. But but if the statuary has these packets on its body, it sounds like something healing or medicinal, designed to empower it or the owner of it, particularly in the locations where the packets might be presented, which is again why I'm really curious to see exactly what we're talking about. I could give you a better explanation, really, if I could see it. Now, does the mask have like a piece of cloth hanging from it that has cowrie shells on it?
no, there are no cowrie shells on the mask. There is a beard that's, it looks like mop strings that create the beard
Yeah,
on the mask.
yeah. Those sound, and no offense, because I have no idea how much you paid for them. They sound very tourist-like. So they,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so they could have been absolutely, because we expect our cousins to eat in Africa. So they do create pieces
Right,
that they know are going to market, that they know are going to tourists, that they know are coming to America, and they have not been used in a ceremony or consecrated. And so your pieces sound very, um, I'm trying to find a better word than touristy, very art oriented, you know,
right,
for display. And as I said in the beginning,
right,
culturally, Africans didn't make things just for display. Art is a European concept. They made things for use, whether it's in cooking,
right,
ceremony, protection, they made things for use. And the fact that they were beautiful or entertaining or interesting is a whole nother element to it. So they don't
right.
sound dangerous to me. They sound pretty safe to me. But if you want a more specific answer, take a picture of them and then send that to me in an email.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll do that.
I appreciate you, beloved. Thank you so much for calling in. And
I appreciate you too.
you can stay on the phone if you want and just mute yourself so that we don't hear any of your background noise. And then if you do have another question or
Okay.
comment, just jump back in.
Will do.
Thank you. Kiana, are you still with me? You don't have nothing to say, beloved?
No, I don't.
Okay, all is a
It was an
blessing.
amazing show. Another healing episode.
Yes, and remember those under the sound of my voice. If you do have an ancestral shrine, or if you are now setting that up, today is your day. Today we acknowledge the Egungun.
Oh wait, I forgot. I forgot to remember.
The Egungun are our ascended ancestors, not the problematic family members, not the family members that invoke negative feelings for you. And often your Egunguns you don't know. You've never known. Um, they're often your great, 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 great grandmama and grandpapa and people far removed from you. Your slave ancestors and ancestors that even predate colonialism are your Egunguns. And we would acknowledge them and stand up with them today. We also acknowledge the spirit of the white cloth. So cover your head in white today. If you have Obatala, acknowledge Obatala today. If you don't have Obatala, look up to the sky and acknowledge the white clouds. For those white fluffy clouds, they are Obatala or a form of Obatala. So we acknowledge Obatala today. Thank you so much for that that emoji that you just popped in there with the praying hands, surrounded by Obatala. I love now in all capital letters in the chat. Kayla, I see you. And she's at work listening to us. You all would be surprised how many people listen to us from work and in their work or office space. I'm seeing Cameron, our producer of our theme music, our opening song. Diane, Cameron, Elam, I greet you in all peace and blessings today. She sings and does the opening Come Back Home to Africa. Diane, Cameron, Elam, and I'm seeing her activity right now in Twitter. She's popping up on my alerts. So I want to give her thanks for offering us this duty-free song to play on our show, and I appreciate you. I appreciate that song. I play that song even when I'm not broadcasting, at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Witch Doctor and Come Back Home to Africa by Diane, Cameron, Elam. Wishing nothing but blessings to you, Diane, Cameron, Elam. Thank you all. Thank you all. Hit me with your questions, comments, or requests. I will be moving forward shortly.
Queen Ty Shear had a question, but I directed to the email, and then Kiana Metlock, she has another question too.
Does she have a private question or a question I can answer on air? You don't have to send them to the email unless it's personal.
Well, it appeared she wanted you to answer it online, but it was in regards to gotta find it again. It was in regards to the. She just wanted to know how does she go about finding her guardian Orisha the proper way.
That can only be done by divination. That can only be done by divination, and it should involve ancestral work in divination, specific work that's done in regards to your head. And just so I'm clear, it has a name. Whether we're talking about voodoo, Haitian voodoo, West African voodoo, Ifa, Akan, it has a name. It should accompany your ancestors. And then the third bottom right corner of that triangle is the spirit or Orisha that governs your head. And when that is not specified, we start out with Eshu. But when it's specified in divination, and there's a word for that divination, I've never said it live on air, because if I say it, people will start calling in and say, oh, I've had this ceremony done And can you answer a whole bunch of questions for me? And if you've had this ceremony done, you ain't got no questions to ask me. And then my next response is, where are your godparents? Just like I asked beloved Urban Gorilla, where are your godparents for you? Now, when that breaks down, there is an opportunity now. When that breaks down completely, then yes, then Urban Gorilla, I could work with him. Yes, then I could take on the wayward godchild. But that family, that relationship, just like divorce, has to be closed. That has to be closed because you're now attached to their energy. So when I start doing work on you and for you, I got to work them too. And that's tiring. I got to work them as well. That's tiring. And many of you are being caught, listen to the words I'm using, are being trapped by these practitioners, primarily for financial gain. Paul, who's often in the room, Paul C, will tell you, I rarely ask for anything. Now, I might say I need, for instance, I need means to purify large volumes of water over the long term. I still don't have that. I have 100 gallons of water, rainwater in the back, and I need a specific equipment in order to do that. Someone promised me they were going to send that, and they never did. And I'm not going to call that person's name out because it wouldn't be fair to them. But that's what I do. I say I need food, I need water. Can you help me out with some candy? That's what I say. But asking for, call me now. Send me your donation right now. Send me your seed money. I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm not that kind of practitioner, and it dredges up so much negative other stuff that goes along with it. But when you start asking me about very specific rituals, if you're asking about setting up a shrine for your ancestors, Akeisha Smith, you want to get with me off air in my email for the ancestral work and divination. Ancestral work and divination. Now, I was asked yesterday, and I'm asked about once or twice a year, am I initiating in Voodoo if I sign up to do ancestral work and divination with you? Because some of you all are still, Hebrew Israelite. Some of you all are Jews. I got godchildren that are Christian. I got godchildren that are evangelical, who are not doing Voodoo, who are not doing Orisha, but are operating in the realm of ancestors. Because you can't mix Orisha and ancestors anyway. You can't mix up the living with the dead anyway. So they can maintain their religion, their belief system, and just do ancestral work and divination with me. And I really should say divination first, because we need that divination to determine, just like I told Urban Gorilla, to determine the blueprint. The blueprint for your shrine, the blueprint for your altar, the blueprint for interaction with your maternal lineage and your paternal lineage. I also suggest DNA. At some point, I'm going to say DNA. Get your DNA done so that we can then specify ethnic groups, specify geographic location, specify ancestral lineage, and then ancestral work, Keisha and Kiona and whoever I'm talking to right now, ancestral work will then utilize that divination information in terms of how to set up your shrine. Your shrine, your altar is like magic unto itself. It's a magical ritual space unto itself. Just the moving around of the items on my shrine changes the frequency. It changes the energy. For my Star Trek fans, how many Star Trek fans do I have out there? Old school Star Trek as well as the new. They've got all this technology and buttons and lights and switches and levers. And so your shrine operates in that way. And so you're moving around energy. Your pots, your taurines, your candle work is designed to position certain energies, certain frequencies on your table. So that's why I have ancestral work and divination. I give up those secrets, how to operate, how to communicate, how to know if my ancestors are accepting my libation, how to know if my ancestors want more than water, want more than rum, want more than coffee. That's what that ancestral work involves. So no one has to initiate in voodoo or initiate in Ifa per se. And if you are coming to me for ancestral work and divination, but you are not interested in initiation or moving forward in the tradition, we're not going to discuss your head. We're not going to talk about your head. You're only being held up by your ancestor. And so we're only going to do ancestral work and divination. When you have a problem, a request, a block, a crossroad, it is your ancestors that are coming to your defense, not the Orisha. Oshun didn't have nothing to do with you hitting a number. Oshun didn't have anything to do with your raise. Oshun didn't have anything to do with you finding $20 on the sidewalk. 20 ain't even Oshun's number. Okay, it is your ancestors that are holding you up, my children. It is your ancestors, beloved, that are holding you up, beloveds. It is your ancestors. If you have not done this work, this initiatory work, it is your ancestors. And you are risking, the risk is you're inviting jinn. Jinn will respond to you. Demons will respond to you. Earth spirits will respond to you. Gnomes, fairies will respond to you through your work. And you think you moving Oshun. You think you moving Ilegwa. You think you moving Ogu, and you're really not. And who's protecting you from the foolishness are your ancestors. Even my own foolishness, even my own arrogance, even my own sense of, I got this, I know what I'm doing. Let me just light this candle. And it's my ancestors that protect me from my own nonsense. And yours too. So create a sacred space for them. Invite them. Let them know that they're welcome. Make water, fire, air, and of course, ether or the gas or the mind is your own consciousness, your own awareness, your own routine connection with your ancestors. Thank you, Kiana, for the question marks. Kiana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Your vowels are messing with my dyslexia. But so I hope I got your name right. I hope it is Kiana. Kiana Medlock. The Mormon religion workers always ask to do blessings over you and your children's head. Is that buffering? Buffering. I'm going to create a new song. It's going to be called the Buffering Song. I'm going to create a song called Buffering so that y'all know I'm buffering. Because it's a delay. I know the buffering's happened before you all know the buffering has happened. But I will talk about it. First of all, beloved, I don't answer the door. And if I do answer the door, I make it clear. We don't acknowledge no demons, no jinn, no wayward religions up in here. We acknowledge the religions of my forefathers up in here. And of course, if they strong enough to stand there and ask, voodoo. We do voodoo here. We're not interested in Jehovah's Witness. We're not interested in the Mormons. We're not interested in anyone that needs to proselytize, that needs to sell their religion at my door. Now, I got my pet peeve out of the way. They're praying over your head. They're marking your heads. They're blessing your heads. Not just for goodwill, good intent, but for Mormonism. Their goal is to bring your souls into Mormonism. When I first started reading your question, Kiona Metlock, can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly? Kiona, can they hear me clearly? Is the audio jacked up? Oh wow,
I
Kiona.
can hear you just fine on my laptop and on the phone. So
Okay.
I don't know what's happening on their end.
Okay, so Kiona, maybe your internet might be buffering. Maybe your page needs to be refreshed. But
Yeah, because mine is clear.
yeah, mine is too on both my mobile and my desktop. They're literally praying over your head. They're literally marking you for Mormonism. Not just, okay, we're coming by and we want to offer a prayer of goodwill and thanksgiving, but they're also marking your head for Mormonism. Now, something you might not know, and many of my listeners may not know, is that's regular business for the Mormons. The Mormons may not like what I'm getting ready to say, but the Mormons operate in ancestral honor, ancestral worship, ancestral divination. So the Mormons have all of our names. If you have a social security number, if you have a birth certificate, the Mormons have your name in a file. In a file. The Mormons pray over everybody, everybody on the planet, everybody's name, everybody's social security number, everybody's birth certificate. This is real. This ain't no propaganda. The Mormons pray over everybody. The Mormons baptize everybody, even in death. So if you die, and it's obituary out there in the newspaper, the Mormons baptize your name to ensure you make it into heaven. Now, some of you might be okay with that. Some of you might be all right with that. Let me handle mine. I'm okay. I got my salvation is in check. I'm saved by the voodoo. I'm saved by the ancestors. I'm saved by God because I am God, and God stands up in me and with me. So I don't need the extra religions. Now, I embrace all goodwill. You know, I acknowledge Hinduism and I acknowledge Islam in my own way, and I acknowledge Christianity in my own way, and I acknowledge evangelical Christianity in my own way. And truth stands up in all traditions without the indoctrination. But yeah, they're not just giving you good luck, giving you a prayer. They're marking your head for Mormonism. For Mormonism. They're ensuring that you're saved as a part of the Mormon count beyond your death. And if they have your name and your paperwork, you know, which is public record, by the way, they've baptized you and your children through the Mormon tradition. They've baptized you, and particularly the dead. This is a factual. You can Google this. You can Bing this. This is factual. So that's what's happening, Kiona. They're not just praying for your goodwill and your health and your strength. They're also marking your head for the Mormon family, the Mormon congregation. On the other side, in the spirit realm, the Mormons deal a lot on the other side. The Mormons also have had documented alien intervention. But you got to be deep in the Mormon tradition to get access to that information. So too do the Scientologists. E.F. Hutton channeled Scientology from an alien extraterrestrial. Oh, y'all didn't know that? Oh, you didn't know that? Okay. My bad. MW, Melvin, I see you talking to Kiona about witchcraft. Email me about that. I need some details. Now, sometimes these readers will tell you you got witchcraft on you just to get you to invest more money or to spend more time with them. I can't tell you how many people come to me thinking they twisted up. I talked about this a lot on yesterday's show, Melvin, MW. Thinking they twisted up with black magic or whatever, and it's you twisting yourself up. A lot of people don't even have
He had asked a question, and I asked him to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
He had asked a question as to why it was done, and I asked him to be more specific, and that's why he put the last comment there to me, because he was asking you why it was done, but if all he said is why is it done.
Yeah, first of all, I can't even validate that it was done without doing a divination. And just because somebody say they gonna curse you or somebody put witchcraft on you does not make it true. Doesn't make it true. As I was saying before, Keona helped me clarify that. I'm saying that every day. Every day I'm telling somebody, beloved, you done cursed yourself. Or it's your imagination. Or you going too far with this. A lot of these people that's suggesting the witchcraft are using that as a ploy to sort of suck you in to deeper levels of service, especially if the reading was cheap or free. Pay attention to what I just said. Especially if the reading was cheap or for free. People will often offer you free services, free reading, a free opportunity to sort of connect to you, so they say, to get you talking, to get you leaking your information. Once you have leaked your information in that free reading, now they got you. Oh, baby, you got dark. Yeah, I see the cloud over your head. Let me work that out for you, but it's going to cost you $500. It's going to cost you $1,000, etc. So I don't trust, just like I don't trust everybody, urban gorilla, who say it's consecrated, who say they didn't receive a legitimate hand. I don't trust everybody who say that they've been cursed. I don't trust everybody who say somebody put a curse on them. Because a lot of these folks, these wannabe witches ain't got no power to curse nobody but themselves. To bind up and tie up nobody but themselves. And holding conversation with them creates attachments where you now pick up the negative energy, the dark energy. You know, the psychic world link that Keona just put in the chat is great if you just want to talk to me for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You got general questions you want to ask. You want a quick tarot reading, you know, great. But if you know that your situation is complicated, if you know your situation requires more work, if you're seeking initiation, ancestral work and divination, go directly to my website. Go directly to my email. But if you just want a general tarot reading, if you just want to talk, if you just have questions that you need answered in the moment, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I invite you to hit me up on my Psychic World link. And by all means, your comment and rating is of more importance to me than your donation. I can't say that enough. Your comment and rating is more important to me than your donation. My rent, my utilities, that's my disability, that's my acting, that's my performance check. My donations for my ministry go into the ministry. Those of you who buy 7-day candles know how much that cost and to be delivered. Those of you who buy lamp oil know how much that costs. Olive oil. Think of the amount of olive oil that I go through in a ministry. I go through more olive oil than your local corner Pentecostal Apostolic Church. Okay? So that's where the donations go. The donations go into the ministry. The donations go into feeding the block that some of you have that take 30 to 90 days to undo. After you get that 3-hour reading, that 2-hour reading from me, how many times after that do I ask you for anything when I'm doing the course of your work? Usually never. And chickens ain't free, goats ain't free, lambs ain't free. It's not free. Charcoal ain't free. Resin ain't free. Herbs that I don't have, can't grow on my own, have to acquire, not free. So like any ministry, the money goes into the ministry. I don't own a car. So like your price, I ain't got the Mercedes, the Jaguar, the BMW. I ain't got a Toyota. I don't own a car. Haven't been able to afford one. I don't own my house. I rent. I'm a renter. I'm at a lifelong lease where I am right now because the owner of this house is a culture bearer. Okay, but that's it. I share my economics live on air all the time. I pay taxes. My income, how I handle my money is public record. It's public record. Okay, my PayPal, Uncle Sam is in my PayPal. That's why when you all send me those requests, I said, don't play around with your questions. Don't play around with your services because the government is watching us. Uncle Sam sees us. You know, I'm not like the church who's tax free. I pay taxes. I pay taxes. I'm not passing through the tax system as a religion and y'all watching me buy houses and mansions and stuff. That ain't me. I pay taxes on everything that I do. Um, Kiona, you're asking about the Medlock. I'm sorry, Kiona Medlock. You're asking about the 5G. Um, the 5G has nothing to do with the conspiracies and the propaganda and the virus stories that are going around. They have no correlation at all. We talked about this yesterday. Kiona brought up a very valid point. China, Japan, they've got higher than 5G. They've had 5G for years. They've had 6G and 7G and 8G for years. If Microsoft has Windows 10, Windows 11, you can be sure China has G much higher than a 5. They might be at 10 or 11. Remember now, China got robots. China has vending machines that cook food, hot food, okay? So we're talking about detailed technology here. So this 5G thing is the imagination of some Western teenager who likes to send you viral stuff in your messenger and get you worked up. All that stuff you get in your messenger that in the last week I've been suggesting people, ignore Facebook Messenger altogether. Ignore Facebook Messenger altogether and start spamming and blocking all the messages that you get through Facebook Messenger. They're designed to trap you. They're designed to capture you. They're designed to bring you in. If it don't say, hey, this is your mama, this is your sister, and use language that you are familiar with, don't ignore it. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. So the 5G link to virus is not real. The 5G is not giving people the virus. The 5G ain't giving people cancer. If that was the case, China would be full of cancer. Half of China would be cancer patients. And we know China typically to have better health than most Americans until they come here, until they embrace Western food and Western culture and Western sugar and fat. Asians are much healthier than us. So the whole 5G thing is just drama, beloved. Ain't no connection between 5G and the virus. Zolana Moon, I pray I'm pronouncing your name properly. Greetings, beloved. I should have greeted you 30 minutes ago. You've been in the room. My apologies. I'm just now seeing your comments, though. They're saying they went to the moon and counting galaxies, but we only got 5G. They absolutely went to the moon. Your comment might suggest that you might be a conspiracy theorist, maybe, and you don't believe they went to the moon. They absolutely went to the moon. They are absolutely counting galaxies. And I'm not just talking, I'm well versed in astronomy, astrology, from the scientific perspective, not the horoscope perspective. I have the NASA channel, for instance, on speed dial, which allows you to watch them out there floating and fixing the satellites and fixing the antennas. So we absolutely went to the moon. We absolutely are mapping and counting galaxies accurately with technology. And I'm only suggesting that the Asians are absolutely doing that. Absolutely doing that. So I don't think that there's a connection between us getting viruses and the introduction of 5G in the West. In fact, we've had 5G at least 5 years.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
We just didn't have the technology. We just didn't have the American technology in our hands to use the 5G. So I'm sure you just heard I've lost my Blog Talk Radio audience. So Blog Talk Radio, that's a quick 3 hours. We went through that 3 hours really fast, and now I'm just in YouTube Live, and I'm going to move forward momentarily because y'all know my mama's watching, and she's counting how many hours I've gone without water and food and nourishment. Yes, Arisha, Messenger is being used to hack accounts. Messenger is being used to harm you. Messenger is being used to pass off propaganda. Messenger is being used by COINTEL. I don't trust anything that comes through Messenger if it's not in plain English. When I communicate with my godchildren every day, like Paul Cologne, for instance, I know it's Paul. We're using English and language that I'm familiar with that can be checked on the spot. What time is it? What's the weather? Common language. But all that other stuff that's coming through there is designed to trap you, to defraud you, to build up your trust for what's coming through Messenger. I noticed that yesterday, for instance, every picture, every meme that came through required you to click on it in order to see it. So the fact that you click on it and it don't damage your computer the first time don't mean that it won't the second time. They're testing your trust level. They're testing your ability to respond to the stuff that's coming through Messenger, and I don't. If it's not Kiona or you or somebody that I know by name that's asking a distinct question, I block it. I ignore it. I don't respond to it. I don't respond to it. So no, there's no connection between 5G, beloved, and the virus. None whatsoever. Other than the fact that the Chinese didn't use their high-speed internet to let us know sooner or in enough time. Other than that, there's really no connection. There's really no connection. Oh, Rob Stone, you're a 3D artist. I didn't know that. That's a very interesting concept. Let's talk about that off air, Rob Stone. That's a very interesting concept. Listen, I see your energy, Rob. I know who you are. I know you're trying to befriend me. You're just not doing a good job of it. You're just not doing a good job of it. And my schedule is overwhelming. So if you don't reach out to me aggressively, directly, get to the point, straight to the point, things sort of get lost in translation. I remember you sent me an email with some pictures and you asked some questions about some stuff. I don't know what I did with that email. So you got to stay present. You got to stay present and remind me what it is that you wanted me to look at, because you aren't the only one. I'm also getting communications from other 3D artists, programmers, people who are creating virtual realities, and they want to incorporate Voodoo and ATR into it. And they're concerned about rules and protocols and how we should go about it and address things. So I'm open to building relationship with you, and that's the key. Building relationship. You have to build relationship. Kiona, I'm sending you out the same message, beloved. 12 noon Saturday appointment. My phone didn't ring. Build relationship. You're already working as a part of the team, but we need to build more relationship outside of the work environment. And this is our work environment. So I need you to call me, connect with me over the weekend, Rob Stone, Kiona D. Carter. Let's address some of these things, some of these protocols, some of these business ideas, the business of spirituality and religion. Let's address those things just off air and not in this space. All is truly and indeed a blessing. I appreciate each and every one of you for your love, your support, your continued participation, your continued involvement in the show. I must move forward. I must get some nourishment. Every day at this time, my governor also gives the coronavirus update. So I've got to unmute my TV so I can keep up with the science and the knowledge and the information about what's going on. And before I leave you momentarily, before I move on, I will be forward momentarily. I want to remind you to be, just be different, be yourself. Being yourself is being different in this culture. Be different, be yourself, be neighborly, be hopeful, be creative, be calm, and just breathe. Be good, be present, be still, be kind, be well, be safe, be happy, be grateful, be patient, be prayerful, be mindful, be conscious, be aware. Be aware. You don't have to be addicted to the news, but be aware. I don't want to hear, I don't watch the news, I don't know what's going on. Be aware, be conscious, be mindful, be love, be proactive. Don't just sit and worry. Be proactive. Prepare. Be proactive. Be available. Be strong. Be phenomenal. Be peace. Be still. And by all means, be safe. Be safe and stay home. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Ashe, oh, ashe.